Days Gone was revealed at the 2016 Sony keynote event, which I was able to watch live. I have faint memories of seeing the gameplay footage, which went something like, "Hey, Ben Studio, alright!" Oh, zombies? Well, never mind. Those who have listened to me screaming into the void for a while now understand that I don't do zombie games, so if I'm gonna play one, you gotta have one hell of an argument. During the last PlayStation Days of Play sales event, I learned that Days Gone takes place in the Oregon High Desert. Wow! In the very place the game was developed, and my old stomping grounds. Fine, I'll make an exception.
As we plunge once again into a zombie apocalypse, this one begins with a mass hysteria already underway. Farewell, Oregon. So, is that like up by Pendleton? Deacon St. John, Brother Boozer, and previously stabbed wife, Sarah, are ahead of the Freakers. They find the last chopper out of Saigon and barter to get Sarah on board while the brothers stay behind to fend for themselves. Wait, Farewell was the old name. Oh, you shysters! That's the old mill. It's Bend. Fast forward 2 years and we are full-blown post-apocalypse. And Sarah is gone. Days gone! With a dead love interest and without convenient Walmart trips, what are the motivations of the bikers Deacon and Boozer? We have to have a reason to sludge through the suck. All that kicks in when they are attacked by the Rippers. Who are the Rippers, you may be asking? They are one of a few different non-zombie factions that you'll be fighting against throughout the game. Yes, society crumbles and nobody's willing to work together. Again, zombies tend to bring out the prick in all of us. Ew, that's figurative. But Deacon did explain in idle dialogue that it's because when the lights went out, all the prisoners were freed. Oh! Well, thank you for explaining. Now I'll stop complaining on that point. Anyway, Deacon and Boozer decide that heading north, perhaps to the real Pendleton, will solve all of their problems. And they'll do that once that arm heals up. Hey, I smell sidetracking. What kind of game is Days Gone? The back cover is a little light on features. Uh-oh, I've never seen that as good news. Open world, crafty, and sad. What am I getting into? My spirits were lifted a little bit early on when I passed a sign that pointed to Camp Sherman. I've been to Camp Sherman, and rather recently too.
Come here. See? We even have merchandise. Tell your story walking, Blue Eyes.
But the signs that say speed limit, that's not quite correct from what I remember. Oregon law is there is a suggested speed, no hard limit. Also, why the old style of blue and yellow license plates? The tree design is more ubiquitous. Driving to locations to pick up jobs and build alliances, a bunch of non-required side missions, mutants everywhere, enormous list of level up abilities, put together ridiculously brutal melee weapons. I think Days Gone aims to compete with Fallout. Quite a lofty goal, but it has actual cutscenes, not just 3D models cycling through random body jitters. The cutscenes are top quality and comparable to Uncharted. Very comparable. The core of every mission is killing. Killing traitors to a camp, killing the kidnappers of a camp, killing entire camps. The other warring factions are the Marauders, who solemnly swear they're up to no good, and those pesky Rippers, that cult holding a real grudge with Deacon. There's also Anarchist, but I forgot to record that footage. These style of missions are kind of funny because Deacon starts mumbling like a maniac upon approach.
I gotta kill them all. Every last one of these murdering sons and bitches.
Then, of course, the cause of all of our problems, the massive presence of zombies. You know, I will resolve to calling them freakers, as they don't share the common features of zombies. They don't require a headshot to kill, they don't transmit the virus by hitting or biting, it isn't airborne. Come to think of it, not a lot is explained about contracting the virus. They have it, and you don't. I guess you have to leave a little space for things to be explained in a sequel. Now let's talk about the methods of killing in Days Gone. Guns come in a variety of flavors, but the ammo capacities are so low, it's hardly worth bringing them into a fight. Plus, firing weapons will often alert the local freakers that snacks are nearby. And never mind firing into a flock of freakers, just wasting bullets. Looking for more stealthy options, that's where crafting comes in. You can make a wicked combination of a bat and a saw blade. Slow down. These things will break after a few good whacks. Yay, breakable weapons! Even after you unlock the ability to repair them, that requires scrap, which isn't the easiest thing to come by in a pinch. I'm so neurotic about hoarding my resources, I brought it back to basics and used the unbreakable hunting knife. Seriously, I completed a lot of missions just swinging the knife into my foes and doing a Legend of Zelda roll away as defense. I really don't like how I made Deacon look like the villain in a slasher movie. I can't think of a more pointless genre. And this is Central Oregon. People are really nice here. Although, there was heavy implication that most of the freakers are Californians.
Infected freaks poured up from LA, from the Bay Area, from Sacramento. There were thousands and thousands and thousands of them.
Having been a resident of both Oregon and Nevada, I know that California's greatest export is people. There's also a strand of missions that has Deacon investigating the abandoned federal checkpoints. The department was named Nero. After refueling and repairing the generator, you can enter the mobile labs and get a stat-boosting injection. Also lying around are audio logs. The first one I picked up freaked me out. I started hearing voices that were external to the game. What? I haven't taken any drugs today. The audio was coming from the controller's speaker. I forgot the DualShock 4 had a speaker. That's classic Ben Studio, using all the hardware features. I was really excited when an audio log mentioned Chemult. Whoa, my first job was in Chemult. I worked at a Texaco because all gas stations in Oregon are full service. Washing windshields, inhaling gasoline fumes. Fun times. I had this mug as a keepsake. And even better, I still have my shirts. I suppose I'm most happy that they pronounced Chemult correctly. And on the subject of pronunciation, to all you East Coasters, don't put so much effort into it. It's not Oregon or Oregon, just Oregon. Also, it's not Nevada, it's Nevada. We invoke the special rule of you say it the same way as the people living there. Now that's actually bad news for us all, as we have to start calling this Missouri. The real story connects when you spot Nero helicopters flying around, signs that not all of society has collapsed. My heart started to race when you planned to bum rush a Nero guy at the Metolius River. I've been to the Metolius headwaters many times throughout my life. More photographic evidence. As it became usual with this game's landmarks, excitement quickly turned to disappointment when I tracked it all the way upriver. The Metolius isn't a waterfall. It feeds out the side of a mountain. And Camp Sherman should be right next to it. Whatever happened to that? Well, once you reach Camp Sherman, the name had changed to Sherman's Camp. Oh, well, that's a big difference. Nice try. About halfway through, in a quite pivotal mission, they hit ground zero for me. Deacon and Boozer are gonna blow up the dam at Crescent Lake. Crescent Lake is my hometown. Zip code 97425. I walked across the dam before. It wasn't that big or fancy. And the purpose of blowing it up is to flood out the rippers downstream. Wow, most of my childhood homes had Crescent Creek in the backyard. Oh, thanks. Afterward, Deacon fled further south and you find an encampment at Crater Lake, Wizard Island and all. Nice! I don't remember Wizard Island being that big. To stick around, Deacon had to join their militia, the Deschutes County Militia. I just lowered my head and mumbled to myself, Crater Lake isn't in Deschutes County. Chemult opens up too. Somehow, they made it parallel to Crater Lake. With Highway 97 open, I went looking for Beaver Marsh, which is 5 miles south of Chemult. My friend lived there. The 3DO friend, not the one that devoured Thin Mints. 5 miles south of Beaver Marsh is Diamond Lake Junction. Well, they put Beaver Marsh up here, Diamond Lake on the other side of Crater Lake, and Santiam Pass has been rotated to run north and south. It's like they're playing Mr. Potato Head with the map of Oregon. Back to Chemult, I went looking for the gas station where I spent my teenage summers. I know they can't use corporate names, and besides, that Texaco is now a Chevron. I think this is it. Sweet. This is where I learned the value of hard work, and earned the dollars to buy my Nintendo 64 and PlayStation 2. Heading down Highway 97, I see this is a decent parody of the Wheel Cafe. That was owned by the aunt and uncle of a guy who was 1 grade ahead of me. Down at the end, the Chateau. Holy shit, that's a real restaurant! I mean, I know in reality it's called the Chalet Restaurant, but wow, this is really close. One night after work, I bought my first mushroom and Swiss hamburger there. Burnt my tongue on the first bite. The cheese was really hot. Damn this nostalgia. On the other hand, Ben Studio invented this place called Chemult Community College. Merely implying that Chemult had a college, you should stand trial for treason. Chemult is like the antonym of college. Weren't you doing a game review? Right, I'll get back to that. Really impressed by the weather patterns and how the environment smoothly changes with rain and snow. But I gotta say, a little too liberal with that rain. Bend is a lot like Klamath Falls and Reno, 300 days of sunshine a year. To the rest of the country, don't get jealous. Because of the elevations, those days are not always warm. And the other 65 horrific days makes you forget about the 300. Whoops, starting to veer away again. Circling back on the Fallout comparison, Days Gone is a little more tightly bound with the side missions, where they control the pace. You'll turn in a score to a camp and leave. Then as you ride away, the camp calls to say they have a new mission for you and to come by when you're ready. It's a very sterile experience with the missions. You can hit the road, and aside from an occasional worthless hostage situation, you're not going to hit any random independent plots. That could be seen as a gripe, but I actually like this. Sometimes I like all the missions to be pointed out. We can all get a little more Metroid Fusion in our lives. Fast travel is a grind, as it's done with the motorcycles. Travel distance is limited by the remaining fuel, which has to be constantly monitored and always seeking more fuel. The bike will get busted up and has to be repaired with scrap, thus reducing my ability to repair my buzzsaw bat, feeding my neurosis, perpetuating the use of my slow hunting knife. One cool feature that I haven't mentioned, and perhaps a big selling point, is the visual experience of a buttload of freakers chasing you and nary a dropped frame. These can get incredibly annoying and difficult to deal with when executing some unrelated task. The whole idea is to level up your abilities, which is a bit easier to manage than Fallout's never-ending level system. Sorry. The whole idea is to level up your abilities and stockpile ammunition of all types, then take up the task of eliminating these enumerated hordes. Not easy, but when you take down a horde, it is incredibly satisfying. Despite all of its shortcomings, Days Gone was fun for me, because it was such an organ-centered game. Your results may vary. It is a very long game that looks to tell the epic story of a guy rising to power not because he wanted it, but was rather pushed into it. Like The Godfather. I did see the game to the end because I had to find out if there was going to be a Days Gone 2, which would probably take place in Washington, and I'll give less than a shit about it, or if they were going to begin work immediately on that Nathan Drake prequel. That was a joke from the previous video that I don't think enough people paused at the right moment. And while I'm thinking about it, apples to apples, I will say that Days Gone is way better than Ready at Dawn's first outing on the PlayStation 4. For non-Oregonians, I would imagine it is a struggle getting to the end. Looking at the trophies, only about a third of the population that started this game finished it. While that may provide evidence to prove a point, I question the accuracy of these stats. The difference between these two trophies is walking about 5 feet, some cutscenes, then the credits. Who are the 2% that are punching out at that point? 541. That's a random number.
Well, actually it's not. That's the area code. Booyah!
I've really struggled with how to wrap up my thoughts on this, and I think I've found a way to do this in solidarity. At the risk of time-stamping this video, I hope we've all learned a lesson and understand what I've been evangelizing for years. Pandemics are not cool!